Kamla sides with Trump, turns her back on Caricom. A line has been crossed. Something unprecedented just happened in Caribbean politics. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, didn't just disagree with Caricom, she publicly disowned it. In a sharply worded statement, Kamla made it clear that Caricom will not determine Trinidad and Tobago's future, declaring that the regional body is not a reliable partner at this time. Those words alone sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles across the Caribbean. This wasn't quiet diplomacy. This wasn't behind closed doors. This was a direct challenge to regional unity, broadcast to Washington, Caracas, and every Caricom capital at the same time. Kamla accused Caricom of disparaging the United States, Trinidad's greatest ally, while lending support to what she described as Venezuela's Maduro narco-government, a dictatorship she says has imprisoned and killed civilians and threatened Caricom member states. In Caribbean politics, leaders normally hide disagreements behind vague statements and diplomatic language. Kamla did the opposite. She chose confrontation, clarity, and alignment. And in doing so, she may have exposed the deepest fracture Caricom has faced in decades. The trigger: Trump, visas, and Caricom's response. The immediate spark was President Donald Trump's December 16, 2025 decision to tighten U.S. visa access, including tourist, business, student, and exchange visas. The U.S. justified the move on national security grounds and specifically pointed to long-standing concerns around citizenship by investment programs in some Caricom states, particularly those without residency requirements. Caricom's Bureau of Heads of Government responded with a statement expressing concern over the U.S. restrictions. Traditionally, that's where the story would end, a regional statement, mild pushback, then silence. But Kamla refused to go along with it. She made it clear that Trinidad and Tobago was not a party to that statement, and she publicly recognized the United States' sovereign right to protect its borders and act in its own interest. That alone would have been controversial. But Kamla went further. She argued that sovereign states must accept the consequences of their own policy choices, effectively suggesting that Caricom members now facing U.S. scrutiny brought it on themselves. This wasn't just distancing, it was a philosophical rejection of Caricom's collective defense approach. The real issue: Venezuela and security fears. Visa policy wasn't the real issue. Venezuela was. Kamla's statement directly attacked the Maduro government, labeling it a narco regime, a dictatorship, and a threat to regional stability. She reminded the region that Venezuela has not only brutalized its own people, but has also threatened Caricom states, including Trinidad and Guyana. That framing aligns almost perfectly with Washington's position, not Caricom's traditionally cautious balancing act. For Trinidad and Tobago, this isn't abstract geopolitics. Venezuela sits just miles off Trinidad's coast. Any instability, conflict, or spillover hits port of Spain first. By rejecting Caricom's softer approach and siding openly with the U.S., Kamla is signaling that national security comes before regional diplomacy. This is where the message becomes unmistakable. Trinidad is choosing hard power alliances over symbolic unity. And that choice has consequences for Caricom and for the rest of the Caribbean. What if Trinidad and Tobago leaves Caricom? If Trinidad and Tobago were to leave Caricom, it would be nothing short of an earthquake. Trinidad is one of Caricom's largest economies, a major energy producer, and a key transportation and financial hub. Its exit would severely weaken the bloc's economic weight, bargaining power, and credibility on the global stage. Caricom relies on larger states like Trinidad to anchor regional trade, energy cooperation, and security coordination. A withdrawal would disrupt supply chains, affect free movement arrangements, and force smaller states to renegotiate trade and labor access. It would also signal to the world that Caricom is no longer a unified bloc, just a loose association with limited authority. Most dangerously, it would open the door for other states to follow suit. If Trinidad can walk away, why not others when national interests clash with regional consensus? Caricom would risk sliding from an integration project into a ceremonial organization with no real power. What Trinidad gains, and what it risks. On the upside, leaving Caricom would give Trinidad full autonomy over trade, foreign policy, and security alignment. Port of Spain could deepen ties with the United States, secure preferential access, strengthen intelligence cooperation, and position itself as Washington's primary Caribbean partner in a time of rising U.S.-Venezuela tension. But the risks are enormous. Trinidad would lose influence over regional decision-making, face backlash from neighboring states, and potentially isolate itself diplomatically in the Caribbean. Soft power matters, and alienating the region could come back to haunt Port of Spain in times of crisis, whether economic, environmental, or political. This isn't a simple U.S. versus Caricom choice. It's a bet on whether global power alignment outweighs regional solidarity in a fractured world. Is this the beginning of the end for Caricom? Kamla Persad-Bissessar's statement may go down as a turning point. For the first time in years, a Caricom leader didn't just quietly dissent. She openly challenged the bloc's direction, loyalty, and relevance. Whether Trinidad actually leaves Caricom or not, the damage has already been done. The illusion of unity has cracked. The Caribbean is being pulled into global power struggles, and small states are being forced to choose sides. Kamla has made her choice clear. The United States comes first. The question now isn't whether Caricom has lost its way, it's whether it can survive this moment at all.